Okay, here we are. Nikita, hello and welcome. We made it this far.
Isn't that amazing? Hi, Vasily.
I'm amazed. Hi. And today we are yet again on the opposite sides of the planet. But what we are doing right now is hopefully helping each other and other people to become happier, or at least figure out what options they have on the menu of happiness. And I think it's in our mission statement, and if it's not, it will be, that the idea of this broadcast is to be real, to explore, and to share, to do the public service of spreading happiness, spreading good vibes. And it turns out that helping others is somehow a key to happiness as well, which is kind of counterintuitive. I think I used to think maybe, I don't know, it's hard to tell if I'm like a long timer in terms of serving others and feeling good about it, or it hit me not so long ago. But I haven't thought about it in depth up until a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, that giving meaning or trying to add some meaning to your life, it lies in helping others. And I don't know, if you want to add a couple of words about this introduction?
This is a surprisingly big topic, I think, because we can go in a direction of how do you know you're helping, right? We can go in a direction of what about helping those that don't ask for help? Or we can go in a direction of people who are helping others but completely neglect themselves. Which one of the three categories do you identify with?
I have a feeling that I'm inherently egotistical, that I tend to worry about my needs first. And then when I catch myself being too much in that category, I definitely start thinking like, oh, who can I help? Or if somebody calls me, if a friend calls me, or if somebody asks me for a favor, I'll be more on the yes side than the no side, depending on how inconvenient it may make me be or feel, right? But I guess there is an internal meter that detects if somebody is doing it too much to me. And like, I don't know how, like, this is not scientific at all. Like if someone takes advantage of me, like I probably can sense it after some time, but the first few times I just try to just help out, do whatever you need. But there are interesting directions that you suggested. For example, giving help where people don't need it, maybe trying to help somebody cross the road and then getting them into an accident,
Oh, no. It is an important one because I observe it quite often when someone would be like, I need an example. For example, you see a person struggling with work or money or family stuff or career stuff, something. And then you hear they're talking to you about it in great details because it is an important topic for them and it's stressful. And the very first reaction I have, I'm sure you do too, is, oh, okay, how am I going to fix it? How am I going to help them? Okay, you need to speak to your manager about this problem, and I think that you need to. I will speak to your manager. I'll call your manager, and I'll tell her that you're doing a great job. But this could be a disservice, except that you may not know. The most frequently, I think this, or most stereotypically, this is done by the parents, right? Parents really mean well, always. It's just that they don't always know how to do well. And so they would do something for you, either advice that you didn't ask, or introductions that you didn't need. Like, hey, Vasily, I think that you will really benefit from, I know this, I'm trying to be your mom for a second. I'm like, Vasily.
Hi, Mom.
I have this my friend at work. She has a daughter. She's very, very beautiful, and she's about your age. You should talk to her. And you're like, thanks, Mom. Really didn't ask for it. Did not ask for it. Thank you.
Oh, and I already invited her to your party that you have on Friday. Oh, damn.
Right, but getting into her shoes for a second, and I hope it's okay that I'm talking about your mom right now in this way.
Well, you are my mom for all intents and purposes right now. Okay.
So I'm imagining that whoever someone's doing this, they would feel good, right? Like they do feel that like they fulfill their purpose. They feel that they're helping. They really do feel that they're helping. So it does make them feel good. It does make them make them feel happy. And I also imagine that whenever you decline this generous offer, that makes them feel not so good. Don't have a right word for it.
Yeah. I wanted to mention this like a societal shaming of people who worry too much about their own happiness, right? And like if you do the full circle and you say, okay, for example, I'm a designer and somebody calls me up and says, hey, since you're a designer, you can design this for me, right? You know, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you can imagine this as a programmer or somebody like, oh, can you just code this for me? Can you make me a Telegram bot? And you'd be like, yeah, I can, but I'm not so much in debt to you and you're not paying me that I would just drop everything and do this. But if it's something smaller, let's say check this line of code or something, or for me it'll be like, oh, check if this looks good from a designer perspective. Okay, I'll give it some time. But if I know that this makes me feel good to be of service, then I might start getting sort of addicted and start hunting down those opportunities. Oh, heck, can I help you a little bit? Not too much, but just a little bit so I can feel better, right? And the society will tell us, well, don't you now move into this space of worrying about your well-being, like, oh, you're just like looking for these opportunities to make yourself feel happy. You don't worry about other people as much as your own happiness in those moments. It's almost like you get too much into this, like, oh, it's the method to feel needed, to feel happy, to feel connected. So I'll just do that. And it's also kind of like a little bit selfish, right? You helping for selfish reasons, which is kind of a conundrum.
Selfish altruism. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, selfish altruism.
I had this question that I asked myself maybe when I was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, much younger. When I had this hypothetical scenario where imagine that you have, let's say, a senior citizen struggling to cross the street, and you choose to help them. And let's say they have been helped and you feel good about it. Now, does it make a difference if you're doing this because you truly just feel that they need help? So you put the effort, you made the world a better place, congratulations. Or the second scenario, if you did the same thing from the outside, it looks exactly the same, but the only reason you did it was because, let's say, your romantic interest is nearby and you really want to show off, for example, or you really want your friends to think better of you. And from the outside, it will look nearly exactly the same. The person was helped, the person actually needed help and was grateful for it. So I had this question for myself for many years, and I actually figured out an answer for myself. But before I give it away, I'm curious what this sounds like to you. Does it make a difference? If the results are the same, the person was helped, the altruistic act succeeded, does it make a difference?
Yeah, it's a great question because I don't have a very clear-cut answer to it, but it's an exciting thing to explore to me because I like impossible questions and that can polarize people. Be like, no, it absolutely doesn't matter. Like, oh no, it matters. Like you have to truly be open, like and with an open heart, and only then it matters. But what's the device? What's the name of a device that measures your sincerity if the result is the same, right? So I don't have the answer.
I was very excited when I had like an insight, when I realized the difference. And think of it as in terms of like neuroplasticity and forming connections, like neural connections. So every time you do one thing after another, the two things form a connection because they were done in succession. Similarly here, if you have done something out of altruistic motives and then you've done the action, then you form the connection between the altruistic world and the actions that follow. Otherwise, you form the connection in your brain that the way the world works, because you have just done it, obviously that is at least how the world sometimes works, is not altruistic but the other way. So the difference is, I think, quite literally in your head.
The after effect.
In your head, the shape of the world becomes different because you have done it differently and for different reasons. And then like you are more likely to do it the same way and you're more likely to see it in people doing it the same way, which is a bigger problem.
So in that moment, there's no difference. But going forward, there's two sort of different scenarios of the future. In one, you'll likely repeat that action because you did it from pure altruism and your neural connection is, well, it's not like you're going to repeat it, but at least the connection that's created is based on that. But then if the connection is created based on fear or shame, shame or, I don't know, showing off or something like that, then it's a different type of motivation.
Right. And to highlight, it's not just what you will do, but it is what you are more likely to discover in others. It's like your entire world suddenly becomes slightly more altruistic because you have done an altruistic act, and vice versa.
Can you unpack this?
The way you like to say, it's not very scientific. My thinking is that there is not a lot of difference between what I do and what I see others do because it goes through the same circuits. So if I do the thing, then I'm more likely to see that thing in others. So my world, subjective, not objective, because objective in the objective world, it's not really the good and evil doesn't quite exist anymore. So in my subjective world, I have done the thing, and I am more likely to see that thing in others in my subjective world. So if I do evil things, then the world becomes more evil to me because that's how I see it, because that's what I do. It's kind of like if you're watching the police reports all day, then you're more likely to perceive the world as a very dangerous place, for example. Well, let's move back to, because this was my little experiment, didn't expect this to catch.
It's good.
Let's move back
this.
to... Let's move back to when you were talking about altruistic acts in general. I think what you mentioned a couple of times is the situations where others would take advantage of you, right? Because it would.
Yeah, there's this concern. In my question related to this real quick is, should there ever be a concern of being manipulated into doing more than you should, than you want, just because you kind of open that door that you are the helping person, and then one thing leads to the next, and like you kind of have to be open to, does it take away from your own time and free will and stuff like that? So like, when is it a good time to start being worried about being manipulated or taken advantage of?
I had this interaction recently with someone I've known for a long time, and we had a falling out and we stopped talking for a bit, and I learned that he was upset with me, and he essentially said, like, I've done so many good things for you. Why are you, treating me this way? And I wasn't treating him any way. I was just trying to open up some communications about stuff that I didn't like. And to him having done so much for me over the years, which is true, it seems like there should be a scale. And on that other side of the scale, he deserves something that deserves something special, like a special treatment. I've done so much for you, so now you better not say a word about me. And I really contemplated this. I really tried to understand if I see it this way. And similarly with, say, loaning money, like giving someone money for a bit, I kind of assume pretty much every time I do it, I actually assume that I will never see the money back. I just assume that they're lost, and if I'm not ready to give it, then maybe I shouldn't be giving it. Similarly with like the good deeds, like if I'm doing something for a person, I assume they may never talk to me again. Not doing it. I'm not actually. I think I'm selfishly altruistic. I assume that I may never speak to them again, and they may never repay the debt. And I'm totally okay with it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. So I think this selfishness is required in a real altruism, because you have to do it really, truly, freely. Otherwise, it's not altruism anymore. It's business.
Yeah, I want to add, there's a often overused term karma, right? That people like, oh, karma will get you, or the good karma, bad karma, this and that, which kind of puts some people on edge. Like, oh, like I really got to be watching every step that I make, every decision. Is it going to affect someone negatively? That means equal amount of negativity is going to come back to me tomorrow or an hour later or something like that. I'm guilty of seeing it this way once in a while, even though I think it's kind of nonsense. But if you become selfishly altruistic and you don't expect anything back from people, then effectively you don't believe in karma. So that means negative stuff will also not necessarily have a direct link to biting you in the ass later. So I think it's kind of liberating to just do things to feel good, to feel happy, and not expect this to work as an investment in the future. I'll be helping you for 6 months, and I hope you will take care of me for the next 6 months after that. Okay, well, that's too much to assume.
Yeah, because like I said, that would be business. Quite literally, if I do something and I expect something in return, that is quite literally a transaction. the moment we enter the transactional space, which is okay, honestly. It exists. The economy is based on it, on various transactions, and it makes sense. And it's the only, it's good because it allows us to make transactions across spaces with people we never met before. But that wouldn't be helping necessarily. I do want to say something about karma, though. First off, I'm not a Buddhist scholar, not at all. Disclaimer, I am not smart, but I have thoughts. And one of the thoughts was the realization that karma can be best, my pragmatic approach to what karma is. Karma is the law of consequences. And the example with the senior citizen who needed to cross the street, it's the question I was asking essentially is like, is there a karma? Are there consequences to either of the two choices? And I described to you what the consequences I believe are. And interestingly enough, consequences didn't concern others. They primarily concern the individual making the choice. So if I'm doing something out of just because I want to do it, I want to do it, I will enjoy doing it, and it will benefit some person, and I don't expect anything in return. The karma here is all of the, at least in my view, it's the change in my perception of the world as a place where such thing can occur. It will be easier for me to ask for help next time because I assume others are doing the same. We pretty much I think that we as humans, we just assume everybody is just the same way we are. So I find it that the people who are in psychology, they would call it projection. I just find a lot that people describe the world pretty much the same way that they would describe that they are acting. The way they're acting is the way they usually describe the world. So a cheater describes the world as everybody's cheating, of course. Yeah, they're all sleeping with each other. Like someone who lies a lot or
I see what you mean. Like your personal tendencies tend to paint your worldview.
Project onto the world you live in. That's right. So the karma aspect here is that every moment you make a decision, you're perpetuating that decision going forward. Like every moment you make a different decision, you actually change your personal perspective, your personal worldview. So that is the karma. And the reason the karma will be good if you do something good is because of that. But here I think the distinction is very important that if you do a good deed expecting something in return, which is not a bad thing, again, that's called business. That's okay. It's just not, in my view, not altruism or not necessarily going to activate your happy neurons.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. I should learn something new. It's a good angle because it's so subtle and it's kind of scientific, pseudoscientific, right? So today we connected like this sort of spiritual with neuroscience. And I'd be remiss without mentioning the Groundhog Day, which the whole premise was fix your neural paths until you set yourself free, right? With the character every day, he was being an asshole until it hit him. Okay, if I'm less of an asshole, I'll get out of this jail, eventually.
That's a connection I did not expect, but thank you for that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope hold on. I'll say one thing and then I cross it off. I hope this podcast helped people, but then maybe I shouldn't hope for that because it should be pure altruism. Whatever happens to this broadcast, whatever it does in the world, is okay.
Well, if you wanted to apply this, then I think it's okay to be hopeful that your actions are bringing more good. I think that's okay. That makes sense. That's called having a good intention. In this case, you'd be like, the opposite of altruism would be, I hope every person who listens to me will get very excited and they will tell their friends and then we'll have merch and then they will become famous and rich and that's the reason. That's like not very altruistic because then you pretty much just you really want the popularity and everything that comes with it. And I actually been very careful. Let's say with my blog, I was very careful to organize it in a way that is sort of difficult to make it popular, right? Because the moment
on purpose,
because I think the moment it gets traction, I will lose my ability to speak freely. So I'm happy that I have, 20 people who read my stuff, and I'm like, yes, please read and tell me what you think.
You set the bar pretty low, so it's impossible to lose in this blogging game. Good. I'm one of the readers, and I recommend everybody to go in the show notes and click on Nikita's blog link and find something you like. Anyway, with this, I hope we made at least each other a little bit happier with this conversation. I feel pretty good about it. So
yeah, I'm pretty convinced too. Thank you, Vasily, for pushing me to record today, because it's early in the morning and I did not feel it, and now I'm glad we did.
I'm glad I was able to draw it out of you. And till the next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.